feel like an intro, but this season 2 could have been done in one, but felt I needed to. The perfection of our conception projected through reflection that's connected is a blessing, and I needed to. Plus I need a few moments just to speak to you about these individuals whose mission to deceiving you, saying the achievable is just so unachievable, but that's only conceivable if you say and believe it's true. Protect the presence of essence with the aggression of a guard dog. Did you forget you was a god, y'all? Maybe you need someone believing you. Well, damn it, I believe in you. Not cause I'm expecting perception, I can see me and you. There's power in the questions and lessons is what I teach to you. Injecting my perspective suggested, no, I don't preach to you. Rejecting that you less than forever, know that you equal to. But this really for my people though, cause evil grows inside of the kind of minds that an ego drove. So engulfed inside of they ride, they cannot see the road. They criticize your drive, apply, they won't even go. Cause fear and faith is the only thing in comparison. One requires courage, the other desires evidence. How can what was ever determine what never been? Then again, the devil is ignorance mixed with arrogance. But we are the conscious collective. And CC, so I hope you get the message. But we are the conscious collective. Or CC, so I hope you get the message.
We're also gonna get off track. What I'm saying is, I want to know what you are, and then you can explain to me why you are that way. You know
okay. So what I am, I don't think can be embodied in those love attachment styles.
Yeah, because I can tell you why. You just when you said that you can be anxious, like you could wonder if you're not good enough if she doesn't text you back, you know, in a couple hours. Like
no. I that wasn't the connection of that. That was your question about. How would I, feel if somebody didn't text me back for these hours?
Because that defines your attachment style, Q.
Yeah, but I think that's your opinion.
No, that's what it is.
Oh, shit. So, we said we was going to do research. You did research today?
I texted a few women that I was involved with, and I asked them what they thought as far as, like, me and my attachment style. And yeah, so, I did that type of research. I did a couple of Google searches, saw some TikTok videos. I feel like I'm ready.
All right. Hey, you did more than I did. Because I looked up the name, and I was like, I remember I had watched a video about this a while ago. And then I was like, let me go try to find that video. And then I found it, and then I sent it to you thinking I was doing something. I was like, I'm going to help you out. I was like, I ain't looking up.
Did you look as far as what you might be?
So I did the same thing. Yeah. I had a couple women tell me what they think my attachment style. Well, they were actually pushing me to tell them.
What did they tell you was?
Nobody told me I was anything. They just kept asking me, what do I think I am?
And what did you say?
I said it's deeper than that to me.
Deeper than what you mean?
This what it sounds like. Hey, is this how y'all feel when I be getting into these points? Y'all be like, nigga, tell me what the fuck you mean.
Like, man, God damn, you done plug season 3, plug season 2. Said it's deeper than. I said, hey, listen, you gonna have to answer some questions, brother. You gonna have to tell me something. The power of the question is another question. Shit.
Nigga, sometime it is.
So you say it's deeper than that, right?
Yeah. So
how deep? Like, talk to me.
Okay. Fuck it. So fuck the name of this. We gonna get to them. We'll get to the name of the style. So I looked up all 4. Like from the first time we had talked about it a while ago. We first talked about possibly doing this episode. Like I didn't even know they had there's 4 types of attachment styles of love. I was like, that shit cool to even exist. And I just felt like they're just saying characteristic traits of you, and you can possibly be any one of them at any time. But to put you in a pocket, like you only can be this. I'm telling people you are God. You can choose whatever the fuck you want to do. So you can be anyone, and you may share some traits, and some traits may be easy to fall into, like a pattern.
Let me ask you a question now. Say you got a young lady, and you texting with her, and y'all texting back and forth, and she don't text you back for a couple hours. You looking at your phone.
This nigga, y'all should be doing.
I'm asking. I'm trying to see where you at.
Okay, so like, it depends on the situation.
Talk to me.
At different moments, how about that? I'll just talk about what I have been. So at different moments, I've been different things. I've been in a relationship where the person couldn't get enough of me. So if I text them and they don't text me back for 3 hours, it was more so of I understand they might be busy or something. But then I've been the person where someone you feel like you don't know if they love you as much as you love them, to feel like that, like you feel less than in that concept. So you constantly try to push to try. So if I text them and they didn't text me back for 3 hours, I usually go into the concept of worry because of my concept of protector.
So that one is like an anxious attachment style.
See, but the thing is, it would be different depending on the
You could be more than one. You could be more than one. Don't think you can't be more than one. It varies, because I'll tell you,
That's what I'm saying.
I've been different types depending on the chick, but for the most part, based on my research, they told me I was dismissive, avoidant. I basically pretend like you don't exist. If I get rejected, or if you say something I don't like, or if you piss me off, it's like, yo, I'm done with you.
And I can see that. I can see people seeing you that way.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much how I am, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't got time for the bullshit, but in actuality, I'm probably just like, let me avoid it.
Yeah. But I feel like what I'm always talking about with knowledge of self, so I feel like it's deeper than that for you. Like, there's a reason that exists. There's something that you may be fearful of that you're not facing. Just like how I'm talking about what I'm like with the aggression. I feel like that's one of your things right there.
So I think you going into a different type of question. You going into why instead of what. You know what I'm saying? So right now, I want to know what you are.
See, but that's the thing about it. I'm already.
No. I don't need to know why you.
Hey, I'll stab you in your motherfucking stomach. You know I'm aggressive.
I understand. Hey, listen, but you also gonna get off track. What I'm saying is, I want to know what you are, and then you can explain to me why you are that way. You know
okay. So what I am, I don't think can be embodied in those love attachment styles.
Yeah, because I can tell you why. You just when you said that you can be anxious, like you could wonder if you're not good enough if she doesn't text you back, you know, in a couple hours. Like
no. I that wasn't the connection of that. That was your question about how would I, feel if somebody didn't text me back for these hours?
Because that defines your attachment style, Q.
Yeah, but I think that's your opinion.
No, that's what it is. Your attachment style. How are you attached to in a relationship?
So, but the thing is,
how do you react in certain situations?
Yeah, but that means that you would be bottled in that. For me personally, it feels like you're saying that I would be bottled in that style, and I don't feel like that exists.
I'm not saying you're gonna be bottled in that style. I'm saying that based on how you have been in a majority of your interactions with females, where do you think you fall? That's all I'm asking. Where do you think you fall? Just based on your interaction.
Okay.
Tell me where you think you fall. Well, let me ask you another question.
Hold on. Don't have me forget this one.
Tell me about how many girls have you dealt with that you've actually liked?
That I've actually like loved and shit?
No, not love. Like, that you was interested in, that you was like really trying to holler at, talk to.
Damn, that's a good question, because I never counted. Don't forget about Jasmine. I like Tom.
Hey, listen.
What?
You finna start getting some text messages.
Hey, look here. If y'all listening, shouts out to y'all. I appreciate y'all listening. I'm counting them. So if they hear their name through my mumble, that's on them. Anyway, so I got Jasmine, right? Yeah, I got Tom, right? I got King. I got Shane. Shouts out to Shane.
Well, I mean, can we talk about now?
See, seven.
So 7. Let me ask you what about now? Can we talk about like your situations now?
No.
I just want to see where we was at. All right, so in them situations, right? Not even all of them. Let's focus on when you got married, right?
Goddamn, I ain't even told them what happened with that nigga. You trying to tell real shit?
Well, we gonna go into the beginning process of it. Like
okay.
When you was courting her, texting was a thing, right? Just want to make sure. All right, so like, how were you with her? Like in the beginning, like were you cool with her? Like just kind of going out doing a thing? Were you the jealous type?
I was extremely jealous.
Okay.
I was extremely jealous.
Are you jealous now? You still?
No. It's from situation to situation. But I was jealous in moments. I wasn't jealous all the time. I was jealous in moments. Like if I felt like things were going good, there was no way I would be jealous. But if I felt like things were going bad, that fearfulness of possibly not being there for somebody I value this much, that's a source of pain for me. And that's when I would get real jealous, because it's the fear, like, why would you be with me if I'm not worthy of you? And then it's been moments where I've been so secure because I saw the concept of, oh, I see why you need me. I see why you're with me. I see what you get from me. I felt so fucking, I was the man. Like, it was no way around that. I'm that nigga. Like, it's no way around that in this time. So of course I'm secure. But that's why I feel like each one of them are driven by the situation that you feel and how you perceive it.
Yeah. Look at what they got for anxious. Look at what they got for anxious. All right.
That's all that bullshit.
Look at what they got for anxious.
Okay,
that sounds like anxious to me.
For anxious, right? They say anxious, preoccupied. Don't be that busy.
Read that out loud.
All right, shit, fuck. Nigga, we in school again? I told you I ain't fuck with school. What about the bitch Miss Tubbs? You gonna make me read in front of my fans? Nigga, I want y'all to know if I fuck up, I'm editing the fuck out of this. So if I sound good, just believe I did it right the first time. So for anxious, it is associated with an inconsistent parenting style. A child with this style of bond with their parent tends to be anxious.
Are you look at it for relationships?
Relationships.
Yeah, we're looking at it for relationships. You know what? We're going to figure it out in 4 questions, Q. We're going to take the quiz. Here we go.
Oh, fuck. I got to take a quiz. I want to read. I don't want their quiz because I ain't confined to their quiz. Fuck their quiz. I want to know what they say about them, and that's what I want to talk to. I told you I don't fuck with therapy. So they got on here negative, insecure view of self. Oh, shit. Positive, stable view of others. Oh, shit. Tends toward dependence. Damn. Fear of losing relationship. Damn. Emotional ups and downs. Damn. Oh, my bad. Is this the good one for you?
Well, that's anxious, right?
I'm saying because we got to get back to the episode. Yeah. So I'm saying, is this going to be good for you?
That's the one I sent you, right?
You ain't sent me shit. Oh, you did? My bad, I ain't see it. But I had this one. I like this because it got it like I like it. Oh, shit. I'm not dry.
Hey, grab mine. It's in the refrigerator.
Get your ass up and go get that shit, nigga. You done told me to go too many things. Get your ass up and go. Hey, bring my motherfucking mic so when you come back.
Hey, the problem is if I get up, I got to reset the mic.
Now you making it another thing.
Look how I got it propped.
Play with my masculinity again.
Hey, get the bottle opener too, man. It's in the drawer. The bottle opener's in the drawer. For the yak.
Bro, fuck ass, wait till you get to the free.
Hey, that thing it's gonna thaw out good though. Open up the refrigerator and look on the right. Look glad about boo boo. Yep, little boo boo. No. Rakes. Yep, bring that. Should be a little bottle opener in the little drawer. No, it's a flick of the.
What?
A little flick of the top. You got to flick it off. A little flick of the wrist. Check another one.
Oh, is this it?
Oh yeah, that's her.
All right, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, for anxious, it says negative, insecure view of self, positive, stable view of others, tends toward dependence, fear of losing relationship, emotional ups and downs, elevate partner above self, tends toward clinginess when apart, worries about being disappointed or abandoned, anxious with diverse perspectives. Hey, that sounds like me, like a motherfucker right there. Tends to be the pressurer, I guess, in relationships. So you say you think that's me?
Yeah. You think that's you?
Nah.
Stop. We'll read another one.
Okay.
We'll scan them over.
No. I'm looking at this. Look, I got all this shit.
Absolutely. You could be more than one.
That's how y'all view it. I don't view it that way. I just feel like even to create this, somebody's perspective was, I'm going to take a bottle of pattern behaviors and understanding you at this level of shit you do that you're just bottled up in that. Like I tell people, you only have today. You could have been whatever you were all yesterday, and then because you have the power of choice, you can choose to do something else.
You can. So
that's why I feel like I just don't bottle myself in one of these.
But I think a lot of times people just fall back on their habits, though, man.
Exactly.
You know, and that's who you are.
But I don't think you're your habits. I think because you have the power of choice, your habits are just something that's comfortable because it's the pattern that you choose to fall into. I think that's what you do.
I think for the most part in a relationship, you are who you are in any relationship.
Are you saying the relationship individually, or are you saying like in relationships you're that same way?
Like you gonna be you in any relationship. Like, how are you now compared to how you were with your previous relationship?
This nigga trying to put personal shit in here. Nigga, we not talking about personal shit.
What we talking about then?
Deep shit in general.
How the hell can you get deep on some general shit?
This nigga.
I'm asking.
Because that's how you do it for everybody consumption. This ain't just us talking, nigga. This everybody consumption. My fans, I talk to them to help inspire them through my struggle without telling them all my struggle.
The only struggle you done told them is listen to season 2 and listen to season 3. Nigga, you ain't told them nothing.
That's right. Nigga, we getting there. This the journey.
So what I'm asking is, how are you in your relationships? Like, are you the same? Like,
no.
The way that you were in your previous relationship, is that how you are now?
No.
What's changed?
The partner.
I'm talking about you. Your behaviors in the relationship. Do you move the same?
That's why it changed, because of the partner.
What are you doing different?
I'm reacting to the reflection that I have. So it's, if a person, let's just say in general, because I'm not finna go specific, nigga, this is the show.
Why you don't want to get specific, man?
Because that's not what we here for exactly. I'm not here to be therapied. I'm here to therapy the people that need the help with the therapy. And when I talk to them, they understand.
So what you helping them with?
Understanding that their struggle is their struggle.
What's
and
the
they're
struggle?
important.
What's the struggle?
The struggle between a choice of fear or faith.
We talking about attachment styles in a relationship.
Yeah, that's still the struggle of fear or faith. What you choose and what you go after is still a struggle of fear and faith. Maybe you don't view yourself this way, so because you're scared to talk to a woman, because you don't view yourself this way, you don't go after her. So because she may have some that you value more than yourself.
How are we gonna be general about this?
Easy, like I'm doing, nigga.
You can't, nah, man. You can't be general about a relationship. You can't talk about your feelings in a relationship and be general. How you do that?
Easy, by giving the reflection of it.
The reflection of what?
The concept of whatever I was going through, there's a reason that happened.
What, you can't talk about what you're going through though, right? Because you said we can't get too personal.
No. It's the thought process behind what you're going through.
It's a general question. As far as you in relationships.
But nigga, we on the show. I can't answer you directly.
Yes, you can. Because
I don't want to answer you directly.
It's a simple question as far as what have you changed? Like, give me something that you've changed, that you noticed that you've changed.
This nigga
For the better.
This is what I'm talking about. This is why you don't have your friends on your show. He wanna get specific. He wanna be in my business.
Hey,
this ain't story time with Q.
Hey, listen.
We do that on story time with Q.
This episode is strictly about relationships, right? It's supposed to be about your attachment styles and relationships. You can't tell me nothing about an attachment style if you can't identify your own. Like, walk me through some of your relationships, man.
I don't feel that's the truth, because I feel like you always have perspective. You always have perception.
You can't have no perspective or of a relationship if you ain't been in one.
Who you think the better player, Michael Jordan or LeBron James?
Hey, look, if we want to sit down and talk about Kobe.
I'm just asking the question. I'm just asking the question to show you what I mean.
Who do I think is the better NBA player?
Yeah.
Michael Jordan.
Okay. So you haven't been Michael Jordan, nor have you played against Michael Jordan, but because you saw it through your perception, you have a perspective on it.
So what relationship have you watched?
And yeah, you gonna slide past the fact that I just showed you that, right?
No, I'm asking so tell me about the relationships that you've seen.
The perception that you're is the person that I'm with.
No. The relationships that you've seen that you about to base the perspectives on this show on. What relationships are you basing that on?
My past relationships.
But I thought you said we can't get personal.
But I'm speaking on the past relationships in the concept of not saying, oh, me and this person did this, showing you how deep it is. That's what we doing.
Q, you ain't going deep.
You think so?
You ain't going deep. You not going deep because you ain't saying nothing if you can't get specific.
No, I'm just not telling you the shit specifically you want me to tell them.
Give me an example of what you gonna say. Like, tell me how. Tell me how you gonna how you gonna explain to your audience about an attachment style without being specific. Like, are you just gonna come on here?
I'm saying I'm gonna be specific about my point, just not specific about my actions.
All right, tell me, walk me through it. Give me your point.
Okay.
So I know what not to ask you.
Okay, I'm gonna just get to the point. Y'all know I like to wrap it around to the show, but this is what happened. So anyway, Nigga.
Come on. Get to the point.
Nigga,
I want to hear it. I want to hear it.
Okay. So, I like this. This is going to be fun, fellas and gentlemen and ladies. So, to wrap my point up and try to condense it to show you what I was getting to is, if I experience something with someone predicated on how they act, because I'm with a different person, they'll act different. So my response to their actions may be a different attachment style because of what they're doing.
No doubt.
Like if you get with a chick that you know was a slut, you may have fears that she may slut around. Or if you get with a chick that you know is probably, let's say she makes more money than you, and then you go, hey, she makes more money than me, I feel less than, she may go for someone that wants more, so your style is more attached. Or you get with a bitch that be like, love your dirty draws.
Q, I got you, and that all makes sense. Mm-hmm. But what I'm saying is, you have a unique perspective to speak from your relationships.
But that nigga, that's shit we talk about.
No, that's not shit we talk about. That's something you can speak about. Like, once again, I told you could talk about how you grew up and how you were raised. And you can still speak in general terms.
You just want me to, okay,
I know. What I'm saying is, you can't have a deep discussion and you're not really talking about nothing deep.
This nigga making it our conversation. See what I'm talking about?
I'm not making it an odd conversation. What I'm saying is, like, you giving hypotheticals about, like, oh, you could leave a man with money. Like, yeah, we all know that. Like, we know attachment styles can change. We know that, you know, you can have a different attachment style based on who you with. But people want to understand the whys behind that. Like, anybody can go on Google and look up an attachment style and read that information.
Okay.
But what you provide is a different perspective as to what you've been through. So I want to know, coming from you, because you have a very unique perspective. You've been married, you've been divorced, you've dated, you hold out. You
what? No, I didn't.
Talking about back in the day. I told you. No, I'm just saying back in the day. I'm just saying you had the full spectrum of relationships, whereas me, I ain't never been in none of that. You know what I'm saying? I've had maybe one serious relationship in my life. You know what I'm saying? So you can tell me something about an attachment style from a completely different zone that I can tell you about. So it don't necessarily need to be a general conversation about, oh, okay, this dude got money, he'll leave you for another dude with money, because, you know what I'm saying? Like, they all know that. Everybody know that. But I want to know, now that you know kind of like where you fall at on the spectrum, like, how have you been? Like, how have you been attached?
Okay.
What have you changed?
I get you.
Because I'll tell you, I've been in situations, like, I'm completely dismissive, I'm completely avoidant, but there have been times I've been anxious with a chick to where it's like, yo, I'll wake up and I'll see, like, yo, she didn't text me back? Or like, what you mean you texting me good night at 9 o'clock talking about you going to sleep? Bitch, you over there. You know what I'm saying? Like, hell no. You know what I'm saying? Or, are you active on Facebook? And you told me good night?
Bitch, that green dot popped up, bitch.
You know what I'm saying? Like you have shit like that, like, where I've been in situations like, yo, like, why was I like that? Like, what was making me like that? So what I'm asking with you is, like, how are you? Because you said that you've changed some things, and it's like, yo, like, what was making you like that? What made you change? Was it a conscious effort to change? Or because the partner changed and how they treated you, did that cause your attachment style to change? You dig what I'm saying? I get you. Like, you can still be general, but be specific in about how you feel. You know what I'm saying? If that makes sense.
100% it does.
Talk to me.
So
just to kind of guide you, if you and your wife had a fight, let's say, and you left the house, you went to work, and you sent her a long ass apology text message just saying you sorry, and an hour go by and she ain't respond. Has that happened before? You been in that situation?
Yeah, I've been in that situation a lot. I was with my now ex-wife over 16 years.
So where did that take you mentally? Like did that make you feel like, yo, what's going on? Because, like, I'll tell you, for me personally, just to kind of open you up, if
pause, nigga.
My bad. But I mean, like, I've been in situations where I've had a girl that, you know, if you're texting back and forth and they respond on a regular basis, and then y'all get into some shit and you kind of get ignored, or you feel like you're being ignored, it just kind of enrages you. So you know, in that type of situation where you send somebody an apology text message and you're used to them always responding so prompt and right away. And then you kind of know, like, man, they're not responding. They might be really upset. You know what I'm saying? It kind of puts you in like this, makes you really anxious, makes your mind start to race, makes you start to overthink. You know, and that's that anxious attachment style. You know what I'm saying, that it kind of creates. So what I'm asking is, when you've been in that situation where you sent that text out and they ain't responded, how did you respond? How did you react?
Me personally, I would always react the same way, where it was trying to understand why the fuck is she going through this? Like, what is this actually connected to? Because this incident isn't as big as your reaction to me is. Mm-hmm. And then I would feel guilty because she felt that way because of mistakes I've made. And I felt like she never was able to get over them. And I felt like I was never able to get from under them. So whenever she was mad, I would first try to understand, because if it's coming from a place of pain, I took ownership of that's my fault. But if it came from a place that she just saying some goofy ass shit and she want to trip up, girl, shut your dumb ass up. Ain't nobody finna play with you. Nah, I ain't talk to her like that, y'all. I did not talk to her like that. But that's the energy I would kind of give off to her. Like, I'm not finna sit here and deal with your nonsense. But if it came from a place of pain, like, this reminded me of that time you hurt me, and I never thought you would be the one that would hurt me like that. And that shit made me feel indebted. And that's why I tell people, like, from season 1, like, I believe love, it automatically puts you in debt, because you're always giving someone something. And the place that you give it from will determine how you feel about yourself. So if you feel less than, you may give it from pain. If you feel superior to, you may give it from, bitch, didn't I tell you? If you feel equal to, it's more of a sense of an understanding. And I always go at it as equal to. So I'm going to try to understand you first, because however you feel is that valuable to me, that if it's my fault, I feel horrible for hurting someone I value this much like that. But if your ass just tripping, I ain't trying that goof ass shit. I'm finna go tell Jay I'm out. We at the strip club. Shorty gonna put the mank on my thigh. You understand me?
You try getting a smoothie tonight?
No, nigga. They heard episode 14. They know how I feel about the strip club.
So like me, I ain't never been in no situation where I was in love like that, right? In a relationship like that. So did you take any of that with you into your next relationship?
What, the love?
No, not the love, but like some of the fear and the kind of the stuff that you described.
No.
That you dealt with.
No, because I removed that element. I removed the element where now I'm going to hurt you so bad that I can never get under this. I removed that thought process, understanding that we are both equals in this relationship. I've hurt you, but you've also hurt me. Your hurt doesn't eclipse my hurt anymore. So I go in a concept of, not only do I value you as much as I value myself, if not more than, but now I value myself as much as I value you. And to feel like a prisoner basically to all of my mistakes. So I felt like a prisoner to all of my mistakes because I cared so much. But then I realized, if you don't even care about me and what I'm going through that much, who's not loving who? Because I'm not doing those mistakes anymore. It's been 16 years. I've done everything I can to show you that I would give everything, including my last breath, for you. And it still wasn't enough. And 50 Cent said something in an interview. He said, when they was talking about his baby mama, he said, if you give a motherfucker $1 million and they have little to no respect for you, how much do I have to give for you to have any?
So wait, let me go back though. You said that, like, kind of like the pain and kind of stuff you put her through for 16 years.
But the pain wasn't even 16 years, nigga. The pain was old as hell.
But just to kind of circle back to when we was bullshitting at the beginning of the show, how you said you were bullied at 6, and you still carry that.
Facts.
And how you were, what'd you say you were, just how you move now in the suburbs to where you still haven't let that go. Like, do you think kind of what you put her through in that marriage, she can't let that go, and that's kind of like, that's why she was like that?
Exactly. That's how much I valued it. But is that the concept of what do you do with the action? That's why I said season 3 gonna be about help me.
No, what I'm saying is, like, how can you? I ain't judging you at all. I'm asking. I'm legit asking.
I'm taking any malice.
I ain't never been in a relationship like that. As someone who understands the healing process and knowing what you kind of dealt with and put her through in the past, do you think you should be more sympathetic to like her journey in that and been more, or do you think like, hey, I did all I could?
It's a little bit of both, because I feel like yeah, I'm gonna try to take responsibility for any mistakes I made. But then at some point it becomes, but damn, how long do I have to suffer for it?
Yeah.
How much do I care about myself that I should still suffer for mistakes that I've made years upon years ago? All I have is today. I can't do anything about yesterday.
So do you think you stayed in it longer than you would have because you felt like you were trying to make up for what you did?
That's exactly how I feel.
Okay.
But the thing is, I felt that if I remove that element, if some way I can work to prove myself that not the person that hurt you, including all my mistakes, and one like I was perfect, hell no. I'm just saying like the level of hurt that I placed upon them infected everything else that may happen. Where you get, you know how people like, you get triggered. Like I can lock the door by accident and you get locked out and you flip the fuck out. And it reminds you of that time where I kept calling you and you with that bitch and I was in the hospital and you know what I'm saying?
You think you could have ever gotten back to a space to where y'all felt like normal again? Or do you think like once you get to a certain point in relationships, it's like too far gone?
I felt like what we were in became the normal.
Yeah.
It was so far removed from what I was trying to get back to
Like,
that what we're going through became the normal.
Like, see, that's been my biggest fear with relationships. I always look like, oh man, it's no way y'all could be happy. You know what I'm saying? You see them like 10 years in, and I'm like, y'all just existing. Y'all going to work, y'all coming home, y'all might barbecue, and the family come by for a weekend or something like that. But for the most part, man, you look up and you see a lot of couples just existing. Like I always tell my guys, I say, man, y'all don't even tongue kiss y'all wives no more, man. You ain't, you know what I'm saying? Once you stop tongue kissing your girl, it's over with, man. But you see a lot of couples just existing. So how are you able to not bring any of that to your new situation? Or was it just like, man, I got a clean slate and I'm just going to start fresh?
That's how I felt like I got a clean slate.
Yeah.
That's what I talk about in 14 Love or Convenience, because that I feel like that's also fear of faith. Love is powered by faith. You have to believe in this motherfucker that they not gonna hurt you like the last person hurt you.
You didn't have no fear coming out of that? You didn't have no fear?
No, I always got fear. I just choose to act off faith.
I like that, man. Why did they leave you?
Because they always chose something over me.
Q.
Internally.
Why they leave you, Q? Real talk.
Because they always chose something.
Was you out here?
No.
Was you out here?
No.
Nah.
This nigga, I told y'all this nigga be believing that I was on bullshit. I'm telling you, nigga.
You went out in these streets?
Dude, I could tell you for over a decade straight, at least 12 years straight. That means my entire marriage, I didn't do shit.
Oh, no, I ain't talking about when you was married. I'm talking about dating. I'm talking about
even back then, dude, I was so faithful.
Now, look, I know you was faithful in your marriage. Trust me, I was around. I know you was faithful in your marriage.
But this what happened. I'm going to tell you the truth. Fuck it. So what happened was, first get, we, 15, 16. And I'm a nigga that I take that love shit seriously. I want that shit so much because I felt like I lacked it coming up. So I romanticize love as this place that if I can ever help create that place, I would love to do that. And then I value the woman and it'll just be amazing love in my mind. So in the beginning, I was so faithful. And then we had, I was kind of, I was so aggressive. I didn't feel like I was less than her at all. Like, I didn't feel like I was less than her at all. It was always she needed me. You know what I'm saying? Like, we was going through shit as kids that adults supposed to be going through, like figuring out how to be together and, and like taking upon being basically adults. We in high school with our own apartment. You know what I'm saying? Like, we took on the role of fighting everything together. And I felt like I never felt less than in that moment. I always felt, or even throughout the relationship, I never felt less than. I always felt equal to. And that was the approach we agreed on taking the relationship in, equal to. Mm-hmm. So I took that shit in everything, equal to. But it seems like, in my opinion, I can't speak for her, but it seems like at some point, I think the concept of her physical, like she started making more than me, like those last 4 or 5 years we were together. And this is just my guess. I would never presume that I know.
It's not your guess. This is how you feel.
So I just felt like her external, she started believing that she deserved more. And I was being too lazy to give it to her. And me coming from the concept of, I just never want to be hungry or homeless again. I've said that since I was 10 with Mr. Lewis. I still remember that shit. Mm-hmm. That was my entire dream. And to have somebody I love and share that with, it's everything to me. But to somebody else, that cannot be the pinnacle of what they want. They want more than that. And I feel like, oh, you must be talking about convenience. You want more convenient things. I don't think I resonate that convenient, but I can do a lot of shit that make convenience for you. And I felt like when she made more money, it was like, I'm with a dude that did this to me, and I shouldn't be with a dude that did this to me 10 years ago, 12 years ago, 13 years ago, because the shit you did reminded me of that. So, nigga, you know I'm this. I don't just, the motherfucker told me, she said, you ain't got a chick that just brings something to the table. I bring the table. I said, nigga, she said that shit before it came out. I said, they biting my wife. They biting my ex-wife, nigga. She told me that shit one time in an argument. We used to argue about shit like, who was gonna do something? It wasn't even a tough argument. She came swinging for the fences.
I love when motherfuckers talk like they got a studio audience. I love that type of shit.
She do that shit to me all the time. If you don't, what she told me, she said, if you don't want me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best. I said, damn. I said, who wrote that for you? I didn't know we was rap battling.
She out here with all the Drizzy quotes.
Man, she was getting me.
I love when the motherfuckers talk like that. I love those.
Hey, she told me at one time, she said, and this gonna make me look bad.
She told me, I bring nothing to the table. I bring the table.
Man, I said, damn. Well, she got me one time. She told me, we weren't even arguing. That's what was crazy. We weren't even arguing. I thought we was having a good day. And she just said randomly, can't no nigga asking me for half tell me to do shit.
Damn.
I said, what I do? I'm sitting over there, I said, I ain't saying nothing out loud, but this one going through in my head. I'm just sitting there chilling. Externally, she would have thought it didn't affect me. Internally, I'm like, hey, what I do? Damn. I said, she came out of nowhere.
That's a real issue. Every time I go online, I'm not finna talk about that with you right now. Like, I refuse to talk about that shit. But going half on the bills, like, that's a real topic right now in the world, like, for black podcasts. I refuse to let you get put into that bubble.
I wasn't even gonna go into detail of it.
Nah, you know what? Just the fact that it got brought up, man, we finna move right the fuck along, man. I'm not even finna let you do that to us.
Oh yeah, it ain't gonna be this type podcast. You know I got a perspective.
Yeah, I don't even want to hear that motherfucker, man. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't even want to hear that motherfucker Q.
But yeah, but
I'm so tired of hearing about who paid it.
Okay, I feel you. We better than that. I feel you. That attachment style, it was equal, but because I viewed you as an equal, if I hurt you as my equal, I felt so bad for that. So I feel like if I hurt you, then I become indebted to you. I become indebted to that pain I caused. I must try to figure out a way to amend for the mistake that I made. I'm like, you got Catholicism, they give penance. Like, you ask for forgiveness. So if I'm telling you, you are God and I hurt you, why wouldn't I ask for forgiveness? Because I value you at that level. So if I felt like something I caused pain, from pain I caused, I understand you're not past that. So I'm gonna be there for you. But at some point you like, nigga, okay. Like at some point now, it feel like I'm getting emotionally abused. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like now I just feel like, and then I tell you like, hey, I'm at this point. I can't keep paying his debt. And I think that created a pattern where it's, this what happens. He's going to always pay a debt to me. Because when he's wrong, he know he did something at some point. And because this thing he did right now, it connects me to that point. That makes this little point so big. And that became all the fights. It was always little shit. But they was as big as the shit from years ago.
Did you feel like you couldn't speak up when she started making more money? Like, did you start moving different?
Hell no. I'm saying nigga.
Okay.
I ain't never let no shit like that affect me. I was the same nigga, but I think she was looking at it like, you shouldn't be the same nigga. I told you I'm me. I give people me. Even when I talk to bitch Reason, Shorty, and Hooters, she felt that me. She ain't feel no game. She felt me. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? That's what I get to people. And I'm like, if that shit ain't enough, man, if that shit ain't enough, nigga, hey, this ain't for you. But I can tell you right now for a fact, it's a bunch of women that get this shit on them and they go crazy, willing to do anything for me because they get that realness. So when I tell them, hey, I love you, I care about you, you're one of the few people in my circle, they feel how real that shit is, and the motherfuckers go crazy because they not used to genuine A motherfucker so fake. That's why I say knowledge itself come first, then become wise. Because if you, whatever the fuck the world then made you become, you gon' the motherfucker say, we wearing skinny jeans now. Yo ass out what they wearing skinny jeans. Hey, we wearing oversized. You go oversized. Whatever the fuck. You can't even be a leader if you following that hard.
I'm still in my skinny jeans.
Not saying you, Jay, you on the show,
I'm just
Clip.
letting you niggas know. Because it's a lot of motherfucking slander going on. I see a lot of niggas falling back into these big baggy dumbass jeans. Saw a nigga in some cargo pants and shit with the pockets all on the leg. Come on, man. Come on, man. Put your skinny jeans back on.
I never wore them. I'm not wearing them. That ain't my stilo. Y'all niggas that wear, first off, I think it's a talent.
Yo, relaxed fit jeans.
Nigga, that's me all day. Relaxed and hyper stretched now because my thighs big.
Yo, relaxed fit from Kohl's jeans ass nigga.
I ain't never bought no jeans from Kohl's. Nigga, I go to Express. I did buy these shoes I got on right now from Kohl's. I swear for Lord.
Yeah,
nigga, I got these motherfucking little Air Maxes from Kohl's. I ain't even know Kohl's had Air Maxes, nigga. I ain't never been to Kohl's.
You know why you didn't know they had Air Maxes? Because all you think they got is jeans, nigga.
Nigga, I didn't know what the fuck Kohl's was. I ain't never seen Kohl's. And if I did, we always passed it. If that shit wasn't Burlington Coat Factory or K's out west.
Hey, look, Kohl's, they call blue jeans. The old school, just blue jeans. Get you a pair of blue jeans.
For me, I just feel like I think it's okay to pay that debt to someone, but when someone loves you, that debt will never be that great because they understand you too.
Yeah.
They can understand you was fucked up too.
So coming out of that, you were able to move on and just kind of and get back to it and have a clean slate, or you carried none of that with you at all?
Oh no, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I do carry the thoughts of those, but I feel like those
I'm saying as far as like how you move, like if you're dealing with somebody, however you
just think of a bit about the
hey, listen. Do I need to tune in for season 3 to find out?
Nigga with the new ideas, nigga, I still can't believe you hit me with that shit. I'm still recovering. That nigga said, don't get cute. Nigga replace your ass like they did on video.
But no, like how were you able to? Because if we gonna shoot straight, I was around when you were coming out of the marriage, and how are you able to kind of get into the next situation and not take any of that with you, as far as just something as simple as your attachment style, like being anxious or viewing not inadequate, but how did you say you started to look at it, like, or how did she look at you?
I felt like she thought I wasn't enough because I was lazy.
Yeah.
Like she deserved more, and I wasn't doing enough.
Did you ever start to think like that yourself?
Yes.
So what I'm saying is, how are you able to go to the next situation and not carry those same feelings about yourself?
Because those feelings are in the moments.
Okay.
They don't care. Like I always tell people, like, it don't define you. Your moments are just information for you to use to help you guide going forward.
So it was strictly just tied to the situation. So once you were away from that situation, you were just like, I'm enough. I'm good. It was just I wasn't enough for her.
Yeah. But it's still the pain that I carry is deeper than that.
Yeah.
Because it's not through her, it's through my life.
So that's why I'm asking. Like, that pain in your new situation.
What I do with it is I just look at it to try to learn from. So the way I look at it is I'm going to be proactive and be a better version of who I wish I was. Just like I admired the idea of a Fresh Prince situation where Uncle Phil can save me. So I looked at it as all the mistakes that I made that caused her to go into that pattern, I take responsibility. So I'm going to be better. So if a motherfucker go into that pattern on me and I'm better, nigga, I'm not even finna waste my motherfucking time.
Yeah.
So I choose to take responsibility instead of blame. So I just look at it like, what could I have done better? And that's what I'm doing.
You think that's healthy?
I actually think it's more healthy than what I was doing. Total servitude.
I mean, this is similar, right? Like total servitude as opposed to total blame. Is blamitude a word?
I don't think that's a word.
Total servitude as opposed to total blamitude. So if the first thing you think when you see a situation come up with you and your chick is, what did I do wrong and how can I be better? I don't think that's the right approach.
No, it's not the approach to the situation happening.
Yeah.
It's my approach in general. So whenever a situation occurred, that's how I act. So if I get into a situation and I go, I probably would have raised my voice in this situation, knowing that later on, this didn't warrant me raising my voice. So now I just think in places because of mistakes I've made and been told like, hey, this was this And then I talk to them. That's the big thing. Like, hey, does this bother you if I get loud here? Most of the times you'd be like, no.
Hey, listen, a female, I don't know, I know it's wrong to say female now, but like they going to tell you whatever they need to tell you in the beginning. The same way a nigga going to tell you whatever he need to tell you in the beginning. Mm-hmm. But, nigga, why are you raising your voice? Like, what?
Because I'm an action dude. I don't just be like, oh, I'm finna argue with you. No, I'm trying to get to what we're trying to get to. Yeah. In relationships, I don't really argue like that until I get frustrated. And I feel like this is where people be like, oh, women know how to push your buttons. Because I be calm as hell the whole time, and she just a go in. Nigga, she don't take me shutting the fuck, well, not take, well, she didn't take me shutting the fuck up as let's end the conversation. She looked at shit as a stage to perform. She said, oh, I get all this time, and this motherfucker start going in. I was like, nigga, the song ain't over. I be like, she didn't did an encore. She didn't bring up old shit. So then I'd be like, hey, calm down. Now, see, you trying to tell me to like, look, relax. Now is in a situation of you're getting too far. So now I feel like this is a moment. Now I got to raise my voice for you to fucking understand. Relax yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, you talking to me, and then you bring her back, and then she go, I said what I said. That's how she hit you and shit. But I feel like that's the concept of managing energy. Just like I ain't gonna say she did, but I wanted her to help me manage my emotions. That's what I did with her. I managed or tried to manage her emotions the best I could.
So what you're saying is the way that you managed them was by trying to just do whatever she needed. Servitude.
Well, not servitude into whatever she needed, because she'll tell you I ain't do most of the shit she said. But it's the sense of responsibility of.
But you thought you were. You thought you were doing all you could. She just didn't.
I don't even think I did all I could.
Okay. I got you.
I felt like I did what I deemed warranted in those moments, and I felt like I did more than that, and still it wasn't valued the way that I valued it. So we just looked at it differently.
I mean, it's something, man, you might not have been listening to her.
I always think it's my fault.
No, what I'm saying is you might, because like, man, I'll tell you, just from work, sales, and I got reps, and the first thing that I'll notice about them is they try to fix problems that they haven't been told is a problem. So when you say total servitude, or you're taking the blame for shit right off the bat, like the first thing that triggers to me is somebody that's just talking to somebody and they're just throwing out all the features of somebody right away. Like, for example, like if you're selling something and you're trying to just tell them all the great things about what you're selling, that's just rattling off all the features. And I feel like when you go into total servitude, or you start just trying to fix things that you think you fixing because you think they're wrong, like you just rattling off features to your chick.
No, I feel like that's different, because I'm only doing it in the concept of action.
But it might not be the action she want, is what I'm saying.
But that's where I listen. You just assume I didn't listen, nigga. You think I listened?
No, I asked you.
You ain't let me ask? We're still talking. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna let him finish his point.
I did, and then you do what you always do.
What'd I do?
Try to be deep. And realize your ass swimming in a 2-foot pool, nigga. So I asked you what you were doing like with your wife, and you said total servitude, right?
No.
Yes,
you taking that out of context.
I'm not taking it out of context. I'm taking it in the context that I asked you.
And I said total servitude in the sense of what I deem I need to have service to, and what I deemed I need to have service to is any pain that I cause.
Exactly, but what I'm saying is you deeming it. She needs to deem it.
No.
Yes, because it's her pain, Q.
No, if she tells me that this is fucking with her, that's what I'm taking. I'm not making up no shit in my head and just saying this what she think. Well, you know what I'm saying? She thinking. Did you hear me tell you she got a stage? She told me everything.
Your words was what you deem.
But she could tell me a bunch of shit. If I don't deem it as that valuable, guess what? I'm not going off some shit that you just made up about me. No.
Hey, but that's what I'm saying. That might be the issue.
Hey, that's a crazy issue to me, and I'm not dealing with no motherfucker but they got a crazy issue like that.
But if she tell you it's the issue, and then you say I don't deem that to be enough.
No, it ain't like that, Jay. I
ain't you just said.
No, I'm saying you going at the specifics. Absolutely. I'm going at deep. What you said, the 2-foot poop.
If you go, how are you going deep with no specifics, Q?
Because what I'm saying is,
again,
okay.
Hey, listen, talk about it, man. This your space.
Nigga, this is a show. I do a pattern.
No. This your space, man. Go on and talk. Talking about this. It is your show, but it's your space.
What was the question?
What I'm saying is, are you sure that you fixing the problem with total servitude?
No.
Are you sure you fixing the problem with just taking the blame when something comes up?
No, I don't take their blame. I only take my part of the blame in it, whatever I did wrong.
No, because what I said was, like, earlier when we were talking, the question for me was, you said you were feeling inadequate in a relationship in your previous marriage and all that. Felt like you wasn't enough.
I never felt like that.
Yes, you did.
I said that's how she, I think how she sees me.
And you said that's how you felt when you was in that situation.
Because you said, have I ever felt that way? I said, yeah, but that's in moments. That's why I keep telling you that.
So that's
it's
what
like
what I'm saying
if she's
is
saying
you felt that way, correct?
In moments.
But you felt that way.
In moments.
Brother. So you asked me what the original question was, right? That's what you just asked me, right?
I don't know.
You said, never mind.
But I don't think my total servitude was in relation to like everything she wants, anything she said, anything like that. No, it was in total servitude to the mistakes and the responsibilities I made. So let's say if I, like everybody, let's just say this one. Okay, I cheat on her, right? I take the responsibility that I did cheat on her. How she chooses to feel about that, that's on me because my thing caused that. That's what I take responsibility for. What I did, which was cheating on you. Now, if she feels 33 years later that she mad that I cheated on her 33 years ago, I don't deem that as valuable enough for me to be taking responsibility for. So you can just say what you got to say. That's not on me. I can't take her feelings and how she do it and put it on myself. That's not my responsibility nor my power. I can only do and control what I can do and control. Whoa. What's going on, guys? I had to stop the recording. I didn't have to. So Jay and I actually argued for we have another 2 hours of recording, but we probably argued another 4 hours after that. Just a misunderstanding. But let me just clear up a few things because I know we both were under the influence. I don't do these type of things, guys. It was just, smoke was in the air. I drank a little bit. It was a little bit going on. So trying to do that and do the episode the way I want to and make sure I get my points out clearly, well, it's a little back and forth. When I say total servitude, what I meant was I'm in total servitude to how she feels because I feel responsible. I am responsible for the mistakes I made, and I will always take responsibility for anything I do. The reason I said that I was moving away from total servitude, the reason I said that I don't believe that's a good thing, because if you're in total servitude to someone's emotions, yet there's no end date, you're just constantly in a cycle of pain with everything you're doing. And when I say that, I mean totally into myself. Some people may relate, but I don't presume to know anything on anyone. I can only speak for me. So for me, the way I looked at it was when I started trying to figure out a way to learn to love myself, it's something I had to work on. And when I noticed I was getting into arguments for anything, and when I noticed I was dealing with pain for things that I wasn't currently doing or haven't done in years, it just seems that I was the only problem. And I was okay with, hey, you feel how you feel, I'm okay with that. But at some point, my life just became constant stress, just feeling like I wasn't enough to her. Not saying that I wasn't enough as a person. I mean, a lot of people would tell me how amazing I am. But just to her, the one person in the world that I wanted to be all the things that other people tell me I am, I wanted to be that to her. Now, that may be a correlation to my mom, and I may get into that one day, but we'll see. But I love this person so much that I was okay with that life. And it was an event that happened that kind of changed everything. I'm not saying it was on like her fault, not blaming her in any concept. I think she is amazing. I think she was amazing. I fucked up, and the pain I caused her, it seems that she couldn't get past it. And I'm 100% okay with taking responsibility for that. I just got to the point where I was no longer okay with being miserable with the only person that I placed a possibility for my happiness. Think about if you stole a car radio and you're in prison for 20 years for stealing a car radio. You may be like, yeah, I did the crime. But you may feel at some point, you may be 19 years in and go, I don't feel like I should be in prison 20 years. All I stole was a fucking radio. Like, I get it. 20 years ago, yeah, it was crazy. Yeah, that was fucked up. I'm sorry. And every time you touch a radio, you remember, so you add time onto the sentence. The only thing I have power over is myself. So if I don't deem my crime worth the sentencing, I'm going to choose to make a move for myself, my own safety, sanity, and even health. So that's what I mean when I say deem. I don't mean that, anything she felt or anything anyone feels, it has to go through my filter. No,
my reaction to it and the responsibility I take for it, I have to deem that. I believe we all do. I don't care how someone feels about you. Just because they feel that way about you doesn't make it true. That was more so it with that. I mean, I can go into detail if I decide to do the episode about why I got divorced. But the thing with me and Jay, we argued all those hours and we finally got an understanding. He said he wants to come back on and we can really get into the attachment styles. He was under the impression, and of course he can correct me if I'm wrong, from what I remember that he told me, he was saying that he believes fear is an attachment style. And the differentiation between how I view it is I believe fear and faith are the only choices you have in everything you do in your life. But fear is not one of the 4 attachment styles that we looked up. And that's why I think our disconnect was. And he was telling me how he thought I was just trying to avoid his question. And he was trying to make a point, but we couldn't get past that one part. As I told you guys, I don't care who you are, unless you're probably the police and my life is on the line. Or my loved one's life is on the line. But it's very rare that you can make me lie. All I have is my word and who I am and my consistency. So I wouldn't agree to just accept what he was saying. And then we kept going back and forth, long argument. But I'm going to give you guys my perspective on it. In the show, I was trying to wrap up like how I do with the show. And that's on me. I got to be a better host next time. That way I can have it more structured, because I like to do it off the cuff and just talk and do the episodes like that. But when you have somebody else there, they have their perspective, opinion. We didn't do a pre-show run. I didn't give them any instructions. We just turned on the machine and started talking. So I'm just going to give you guys my point. And then when we go into it, let's see if he can change my mind. Let's see if some new information comes around and then I feel another way. But the 4 attachment styles is anxious, which is referred to as preoccupied in adults. There's avoidance, referred to as dismissive in adults. You have disorganized, which is referred to as fearful avoidant in adults, and secure. Jay believes I'm anxious. That's what he believes. I don't feel like I can be put in a box. He said he was avoidant, and I don't know. I feel like I can be all these. I've been secure in times. I'm more fearful avoidant and dismissive now since the divorce and everything, just in a sense of how they explain them. And I can still be anxious. It's just what it is. And when I'm secure, I'm secure. For me, the way I look at it is, I think people develop attachments most like other things from fear. And I know for the attachment styles, they say it always starts with your parents. And I agree. And what are your parents first? Like, what are your parents to you first before anything else? Because I believe that your parents first, before they can become even your teacher, they're your protectors first. They may be your first teachers, but they're teachers to you secondly. Simply because you're unable to understand at that moment until you get to the point where you start to understand. So they have to protect you from dangers in life and even your own ignorance. Now, they can't stop life from being dangerous, but they can help reduce your ignorance based on their knowledge and wisdom, in my opinion. So if your parents are your first perception, what you see, what you hear, and you're creating your perspective, it would be littered with fear after your first time hurting yourself. So you learn what pain is, and their job was to protect you, and then they didn't. You get the realization that, oh, I'm hurt. Now you have that knowledge of pain. Then as you grow, it becomes up to you what you do after that pain. You have the same choice that everybody else have, in my opinion, which is fear or faith. So you may get attached to a style or styles of love out of fear. Then you do it so much that it becomes a pattern. But like I told you all, you are God. And at any moment you can choose to do something else. Because in my opinion, I believe these labels, they don't help you as a God, but they actually keep you in an infinite loop of repetition. It's like, remember I discussed in season 1, episode 9, it's a full story and it's all connected. But I believe if you keep looking in the wrong place for growth, you may exhibit actions and or patterns of these labels. But if you don't address the why and work on those whys, the reasoning, you will stay in that pattern of protection due to fear. And you can't grow in that state, in my opinion. Just like that thing I was telling you guys about, I keep forgetting the name of it, but it was saying that all living organisms, whether animal, a virus, insect, arachnid, whatever, bird, whatever, what they say is no living organism can do these 2 things together. They have to choose one. And that's grow or protect. So if you grow, you can't protect. Think of some animals. They find an environment that they feel is safe, so they will lay down roots and procreate. But if they're in an environment where they feel there's danger all around, they will choose to first protect. And I feel like if you're constantly making decisions out of fear, you can't grow. You're constantly going to be trying to protect yourself, in my opinion. So how I look at it, I believe that all your patterns, they can be used as information, and that's just something that can be used to learn from to help you make decisions going forward. If you recognize your patterns and you feel like these aren't beneficial to you, these aren't helping you grow, you can choose to do something else. It's like I play basketball, right? So if I told you that I watched you hoop for years and over 90% of the time you jab left and go right. Once I give you this information and then I play against you, would you do the same move because it comes natural to you? That's your natural pattern. Or would you make a different decision because you know I know your move and you're trying to score? But as I tell you, don't let your past bully your present into becoming your future, because what they call pure is tampered with. The cure can't answer it. You're lost in a world looking for answers that's answerless. Look, man, this show finna change, y'all. Spoon fed long enough, now it's game on. Flame on, Johnny Storm with his napalm. Stay calm, yeah, strong, but it ain't on. Excuse me? But there's power in the question. You'll see that the power's in your essence. Confuse me? But I found it impressive. I constantly responded and found a reflection. Is also reflective. Now tell me what is info. Disregard, you don't know what your info. Start saying you a god playing limbo. That shit I had you at odds with your kinfolk. You telling me it came from God cause I'm in rote. Forgive me, but it's hard to compress all his knowledge of self and astonishing in post to invoke. I'm a god that's within quotes. I've been dope and my conscience a big hope. Accuse me if you think that I'm wrong when I speak with my balls, but this is his show.